What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Facade. I'm your host, Gavin J. Gallagher, and on this podcast, I explore the mental and emotional game often playing out subconsciously, both in your mind and the mind of everyone else in the real estate or property investment market. The key to success in this game is to master your mindset and behavior, to take control of your thoughts, your emotions, and most importantly, your ego. Welcome to the show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode and the final episode of 2024. It is that time of the year when many of us will be planning out the year ahead and setting your New Year's resolutions. And a question I ask myself every year around about this time is, how can I make the next year, 2025, how can I make it the most impactful year of my life to date? And that could mean your finances, it could mean your health and fitness, it could mean your relationship, it could mean starting a business, or indeed it could mean building your property portfolio. And so before I introduce today's guest, which is all about that stuff, I am going to quickly remind you that the January intake of my property accelerator, the investment accelerator, that is open. And it is for people who are looking to make 2025 the year that you basically took control of your finances and you took them to the next level. So check out those notes, the show notes below, if you'd like more details and to learn more. Now, on the very topic of getting to the next level, my guest this week is both a return guest and he is my very own performance coach. Jean Pierre De Villiers. He first appeared on this very podcast back in 2020, December the 28th. It was the very last episode of 2020. So exactly 4 years to the day. And a lot has changed in that time for me and for JP. And certainly in my case, I would credit JP with a lot in helping me achieve many of my goals and holding me accountable and things of that nature. I've been working with JP remotely over Zoom calls for the past 4 years, but last month we both jumped on a flight and we both ended up in Dubai, and we got together in person for both a conference that JP was speaking at, but also we went to a podcast studio and we did back-to-back podcasts where I interviewed him and then we turned the tables and he interviewed me. And an interesting side note, a clip from the interview that I did where JP was in charge, I shared a little bit of that on my social media, my Instagram, last month, just after I came back from Dubai. And in just the last 4 weeks, that clip has just gone absolutely viral. It just hit 675,000 views in the past 4 weeks or so. And so that's a little side note, but you can look out for that clip that's there. Anyway, in today's episode, I'm going to be jumping into all sorts of stuff, topics related to high performance. But one of the things that I like about JP is he's very authentic and he's very honest, and he's not afraid to share his own struggles and challenges. And so we're going to get into some of those in the episode and how he's dealing with those. And so for those of you looking to reinvent yourself for 2025, or indeed put some challenges behind you, you're going to want to pay close attention to this episode. There's a lot of tactics, strategies shared, and there's a lot of inspiration I think you're going to get from today's conversation. So without further ado, my conversation with my friend, my performance coach, Jean Pierre De Villiers. JP, welcome to the podcast.
So good to be back after 4 years.
And it's great to be actually doing it in person. The first time we did it, I've just been checking, it was episode 35 and it was December 2020. So coming up on 4 years ago. I'm here in Dubai, for a couple of days, and we spent the day together. Great to see you. For people who haven't heard that first podcast, let's hear a little bit about who is JP De Villiers.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole podcast in itself. So I'm a performance coach, vegan athlete, lover of all things compassion to animals, compassion to humans, compassion to ourselves. And also I'm a performance coach working mostly with executives, business owners such as yourself, people that are not average by any means whatsoever. They're already playing a really good game, but they recognize within themselves that there is a better game within them. And I help them by guiding them, holding them accountable, holding their feet to the fire, and just having an amazing journey of transformation with them and running alongside them, literally and metaphorically speaking. I just ran with a client this morning, and then I ran through Dubai with you on scooters today, running towards our goals, our full potential. And I'd say that's me. And I came from a life that was average. It wasn't the worst life in the world, but I experienced a lot of suffering. My father committed suicide. My mother had a lot of suffering, always drinking, always smoking, always in trying to numb out the pain. And I just was always an observer from a very early age. And I just looked at my life and I was like, this cannot be it. This cannot be why we exist. And I was very lucky that when I was growing up in South Africa, my first ever hero was Nelson Mandela, my president. And I just became obsessed with this guy. And he would say things like, forgiving forgives everyone else. It doesn't just forgive you or the other person. He would say having anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting it to kill the other person. He would say things that stuck with me for years, like there is no passion to be found in living a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. And I was like, damn, man, like this is how I want to live my life. So many years later, I'm coaching, speaking, inspiring, impacting, influencing as best as I can. I've not nailed life, but life is a journey, not a destination, and I'm still deep, deep, deep in the journey of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial growth.
Well, that's an intro if I ever heard one. It's great to be here and to spend some time with you, JP. For people that are, well, first of all, why are we here in Dubai? You live in Thailand, I live in Ireland. We've come here, we're meeting kind of midway. And this energy from the city, do you feel it as well?
It's 100%. I always say to people, set your goals before getting on the flight to Dubai, and then come to Dubai 24 hours later, go look at your goals. And 99% of the time, you'll say, my goals are too small.
Yeah.
Because the environment here is so inspiring.
It really
the
is.
People are inspiring. You look at like, even just the police cars, you look at general cars on the road, you look at the size of the buildings, the architecture. I've come here many times, you've lived here, and we're in awe of the architecture today.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you have an average mindset when you are surrounded by extraordinary? And that's what I find unrivaled. There's no city that makes me feel what Dubai feels.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, your environment is so important in terms of trying to get your high performance mindset and things like that. Talk a little bit about the environment that you're putting yourself in order to achieve high performance.
So first of all, in my coaching, I say there's 4 things that create transformation in your life: your thoughts, your habits, your environment, and your vibration, your energy, your frequency. That's all related to the law of attraction and the law of vibration, what the frequency that you're putting out. But to go back to pillar number 3, environment. I've been coaching for 20 years. I feel like I've been studying self-development for 40 years, all of my life. Well, I'm 43, but for most of my life, as long as I can remember. So for me to say that this is one of the 4 pillars, you really got, or the listeners have to pay attention to that. I could put anything there, and it sounds so simple. It's not some scientific thing or some strategic thing that I've put as a pillar. I've just said your environment. And I believe at my core that your environment is so incredibly powerful because it's impacting who you're becoming, either the better version of yourself or the worse version of yourself. Your environment is either influencing you to vote for yourself or to vote against yourself, and to vote for everything that's actually pulling you away from who it is that you know you can be, and who you know you can be, what you know you can do, what you believe you can have. Now, I'm a student of my own work. I don't believe that I should teach from theory. I should always teach from experience. And that's both from looking at what's worked for me and also also looking at what has not worked for me. I made a massive... Can I swear?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. It's confusing because you're Irish, but we're in Dubai.
Yeah.
I made a massive fuck up moving to Thailand. And I don't know if I've discussed this with you before, but I was just up and up and up and up on my career. By the age of 35, I was traveling around the world representing Tony Robbins, speaking on stages with Jay Shetty and lots of other amazing speakers, Jay Abraham, the $9.4 billion man, etc. And then I had this collision with this car, and I was like, man, life is so short, I'm going to move to Thailand. But in hindsight, from a business perspective, it was stupid. Because no client I've ever worked with at a high level, including you, wants to live like a monk with no clothes on in Thailand.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that. I just thought, I'm successful as a coach. I'll just take my success and I'll just move to Thailand. And my clients just started dropping off. I'm so grateful for people like Brady, you, Cheryl, Chris, my clients that I've kept. And many more that I haven't mentioned in case you listen to this, but I just couldn't grow anymore. New clients weren't coming anymore. And I think it was because of that disconnect. Now, not only does your environment help you impact others, or it prohibits you or stops you from impacting others, but also the people in your environment impact your success, your fulfillment, your happiness, your peace. So moving to Thailand, it wasn't a mistake for me. It's just something that I had to accept.
It was a chapter. Yeah.
It was a chapter of my life. And I realized in hindsight that, like Jay Shetty, who I can't say we're still friends. We were friends, but I haven't spoken to him in years. He's too famous for me. I say that playfully. But I was friends with him for a bit, just through speaking at the same events and having WhatsApp chats and stuff. And, it's not a coincidence. It's not a mistake. It was incredibly strategic that he moved to London, then he moved to New York, then he moved to LA. What is Jay Shetty above everything else? He's a great marketer. Mm-hmm. And he understood that for me to be as successful as I can, I need to be in the most successful environment. So he went to London, he went to New York, and then he went to LA. And then he realized I will not be more successful anywhere else in the world than I will be in LA. And that's where he settled. I didn't think like that moving to Thailand. I just thought, I got a divorce, fuck everyone else, me. I want to live in Thailand.
Yeah.
And my business really suffered. But I'm so grateful for the last 20 years. I've always relied on renewals and referrals that my business kept going. But from a scaling perspective, just nothing happened at all. Because I'm trying to get these corporate execs and business owners in the UK and Dubai, and they're like, you're a tattooed monk living in Thailand. How do you even understand my goals of success and scaling, etc.? So that was one thing. But the other thing was, and I say this with the utmost respect, I put myself in a relationship. Just to close off what I was saying before, it wasn't a mistake. I got my daughter because I met the mother of my child in Thailand, and she is the greatest mother in the world. I'm so grateful that wherever I am in the world, I know that my daughter is being loved 1,000,000% right now because her mother is her best friend. And they are best friends. They love being with each other every day. I would not have changed that for the world, even with the struggles and challenges that came along with it. But for the person that I am and the caliber that the caliber that I work at and live at, I don't know, is that the right way to say it? The environment that I put myself in my relationship with the mother of my child, I started to slowly suffer because I needed someone that could understand me, could get me. Not only did she not even get why I was vegan, and that's fine, I have clients not vegan, you're not vegan, but when you're sharing a household with someone, that was very challenging for me. When Thai culture is... to the mother of my child is Thai, and my daughter's going to be so beautiful, half South African, half Thai. I feel like she's already 6 foot at 1 year and 4 months old. But Thai culture, all they care about is family. That's it, generally speaking. So here you've got this guy that's like pushing every day in fitness, in fulfillment, in success, in serving his clients. Just never understood that. So it would just create this weird energy at home all the time. I'm all about veganism. I'm all about scaling, business, growth, impact. And she was like, I just don't get this. So long story made very short, I had to leave the house. And it was an ongoing journey. You know, I've shared it with you. It's been all of this year. I've left, I've come back. I've left, I've come back. I've left, I've come back. Until such point, like you and I were discussing earlier this morning, I left and I said, that's it. I'm not going back. And I have nothing bad to say about Jenny, the mother of my child. I love her to pieces. But every time I was separated from her by choice, everything rose. My energy, my peace, my happiness, my productivity, everything. And life leaves clues. Mm-hmm. Success leaves clues. Failure leaves clues. And when you notice patterns, you have to pay attention to the patterns. And after 9 months this year, starting January, of this game of am I in, am I out, am I in, am I out, why am I in, you know, is it for my daughter, etc., I just realized that there was too many patterns to ignore. And awareness is both a blessing and a curse. If you don't have awareness, you can just coast through life. But when you're aware of, oh my God, I'm not my best when I'm in this house, and you don't do anything about it, that causes a lot of suffering. And this is why some people stay in a marriage and they start drinking, doing drugs, sleeping with hookers, etc., in terms of males, obviously, because they know that's not their full potential. So they start to suffer and they start to fill the gaps and fill themselves up with self-sabotage, bad habits, etc. So in short, your environment is everything. So if for the listeners thinking, okay, well, what did I do about that? I separated myself from my relationship. I see my daughter every day when I'm home, every day. It's not a day that I don't see her. I speak to her multiple times a day. I video call her. Our nanny, we have a full-time nanny, or Jenny has a full-time nanny that takes care of Mila. I get 4 or 5 videos a day. So I'm very much in my daughter's life. To anyone thinking, oh, how can you just leave your daughter? I'm in her life. And when I'm with her, I'm 100% present. It's a slot in my diary where it's called Mila with a heart. Mila is my daughter's name. So I'm 100% present. In terms of my business, I said, let me go to Dubai and let me just see what happens. So rather than posting me on my bicycle on the island in Phuket, Thailand, or being in the gym with no clothes on, sweating it out in Thailand, or being in the streets where there's a lot of poverty, let's be honest, let me go to Dubai for a week and let me just show people that I'm in Dubai. Let's just say it like that. Burj Khalifa, JBR, Jumeirah, Palm, and just like that, people that were just lurkers just start coming back into my DMs and into my WhatsApp. I sign up a client that's been dormant for like 4 years. I come back to Dubai, he goes, I think it's time we re-engage in coaching. And I'm like, that's not a coincidence. Yeah. And people start asking me to go on podcasts and lunches and dinners. So we changed everything. In 2 weeks of being here, my business completely transformed. I was back in the green, or whatever it's called. I was super inspired. I was like, oh my God, this is where I was 2 years ago. Welcome back, JP. And now I've made a commitment that I will live half between Dubai and Thailand. So, and that feels perfect.
That's a good mix. Tell us, a lot of people, if they've listened to their first podcast, they might know a little bit about your accident, which you passed by very quickly there. But take us back to what happened on that site, that fateful day, very fateful day. What year was that? 2019, was it? Or
2019, yeah. Good memory. I always forget, so I'm glad that you just kind of said it there. I was like, oh yeah, that's it. 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago exactly, I was at the peak of my career. I just met you. Oh no, just after that. Met you, yeah. I just met you after that at Daniel Priest's event. Shout out DP. And I was doing boxing matches for charity. I was doing challenges with clients, jumping out of planes, running retreats in Dubai, South Africa, Thailand, fitness retreats, wellness retreats, business or success mindset retreats, writing books, etc. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this cycle for charity. One of my clients, his mother died of cancer. And as you know, I always say to my clients, you should set stretch goals. If we're going to work together, set a stretch goal, a goal that you don't think you can achieve. And by achieving it, you become a different person. So he said, I think I'm going to cycle the length of the UK. And I said, okay, let's do it. I'll do it with you. And another one of my clients, he's lost his daughter to cancer at 16. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to raise money for a cancer charity. And I'm going to do it with Callum, my client / friend. And we cycled across the UK. And it was 1,000 miles in 10 days. We had sponsors. We had support team, support vehicle, everything. It was an amazing experience. And 2 days in, I was like, I am fucking living my dream. I'm coaching, speaking, inspiring, impacting, influencing. I'm an athlete. I'm getting sponsored to be an athlete. I'm using my social media platform and fitness to inspire people. And on day 2, I was like, something's telling me like my next level is like a next level. And I just messaged back to Signa. You remember Signa?
Yes, I remember.
And I messaged back to her in the car and I said, man, I don't know why. I just need to tell you this. Like, my next challenge needs to be way bigger than this. And be careful what you wish for. On day 8, 800 and something miles in, I was hit head on by a drunk 4 times over the limit driver, already disqualified from driving, uninsured, in a stolen vehicle, stolen from his girlfriend, but still registered as stolen. And in a hit and run collision on my bicycle. And he literally left me for dead.
Yeah. God.
And, you know, if anyone has seen a bicycle accident, your bike usually breaks, the fork breaks or the frame breaks in half. My bike was shattered.
Into smithereens.
Smithereens.
Yeah.
And he just kept driving. And someone saw going over this mountain, because it was on a mountain, they saw this car coming with a hole in the windscreen, and the whole windscreen completely smashed. The hole was from my helmet, not my head. If it wasn't from my helmet,
you're dead.
I'm dead on impact.
Yeah.
I would not be here. So wear a helmet. And whatever you do, wear a helmet. I would not be alive if it wasn't for that helmet. And they were like, what the hell? And then they saw the bikes scattered everywhere, and then they opened the window and they heard like crying. Now, I don't know what happened. I have post-traumatic amnesia. I have zero memory of the accident. But what I was told is I had flown off the road, and between the barrier, the side of the road, keeping people from going down the mountain, and wedged between there and a kind of bush and a tree. If it wasn't for that, I don't know how far I would have gone down. So I was just lucky in so many ways. Yeah. I mean, my height, made my legs, the car hit my legs, so my legs were broken in multiple pieces. Imagine if I was shorter.
Yeah. That would have gotten
all my organs and everything. So I had my legs shattered. One leg was behind me. Another one was, turned 180 degrees or wrapped around. My arm was bent around. I had internal surgeries and operations. I had heart trauma. Collapsed lungs. I've got titanium rods in my legs. I've got titanium screws and plates in my arm. And when I woke up, I understood. I was conscious the whole time, but I don't remember anything because the body says this is too traumatic, so it switches off your memory. But when I started understanding what had happened to me, it was around day 10, day 11 in intensive care, and everyone told me that I could barely move my head. I looked at my body and I was like, what the fuck? I can still smell all the chemicals and the pipes in my body and my neck and everything to this day. It comes and goes. But the doctor came to me and was like, man, I don't understand how you are alive. And I remember, now bear in mind, I'd been studying personal development for almost 2 decades already. And I remember lying there, never ever feeling like a victim, just not 1 second, even though, probably the morphine helped.
Yeah, let's be honest.
I was on so much morphine. Apparently I was just cracking jokes the whole time. But I spent 2 months in hospital. No, hang on, I can't remember. No, sorry, that was my horse riding accident when I was 18. I think it was in May, June, almost 2 months. Yeah, June and July I spent in hospital. But when I was in intensive care for 2 weeks, day 10, day 11, I was told what happened, told by the doctor, you're so lucky, etc. I just looked at the ceiling and I just remember feeling overwhelming gratitude. 1, I was alive. 2, I've always wanted to help people. My father committed suicide. I wanted to help people in every way, not just survive, but thrive. But I never gave myself permission to help people that had been through physical trauma, whether that's an accident or rape or abuse or anything, because I was like, what right do I have to tell them about this? I've not experienced that. And I was like, okay, now I'd face my own mortality. I almost died, or maybe I did die and came back. So I was like, thank you, God, thank you, the universe, whatever. I was like, this is just going to take my coaching and my story to a whole nother level. And here I am 5 years later, still being asked about my story in every podcast, every interview, every conversation.
Well, that's how I got to know you, because funny enough, you got a mention in Daniel Priestley's book, KPI book. And I can remember, just because of your name, De Villiers, it's a long name. And I remember it registered in the book, but then after I had joined the KPI course that Daniel runs, I can remember he came on, he says, guys, there's been a terrible accident. JP has been hit. And he said, like, it's touch and go and all this. And he did this on a Facebook Live. And I can remember seeing it and going, whoa. And so he was doing a fundraiser and all this kind of stuff. And then a few weeks later, he said that he was going to have you, when you were well, it was like 3 months or 4 months or whatever. I think I remember you were still on morphine.
It was September.
And you spoke at a conference. And I jumped on a plane and I flew over to be at that. And I met you there. And that was when we got to know each other.
I'll never forget that. You came up to the table.
Yeah, it was fun.
And you were like super energized, inspired. You signed up to something. OTE, I think.
It was
Best Life.
Best Life, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's just, I tell you what, one of the things that strikes me is, so you went through such a traumatic experience. And then what sticks in my mind is you were doing a lot of silent retreats and you were doing a lot of stuff. So clearly you were kind of reflecting on what had just happened. Talk a little bit about that, because you've made some dramatic changes after that.
So 2 things. One was, I've always been about staying in momentum. You know, one of my hashtags, keep moving, never settle. 1 or 2 different hashtags. But I was a coach and speaker, or I just was in motion all of my life. I mean, one client even calls me the coach in motion or something like that, always in motion. And I was like, I can't move. I can't even get out of the hospital bed. I can't speak. I can't coach. I can't do live videos. I can't travel. I can't run. I can't do anything. So I was like, what can I do? And that's part of my coaching, right? In my book, Spiritual Fitness, available on Amazon, I talk about mind, body, and heart mastery. In mind mastery, the first thing is take responsibility for where you are. Don't blame. That turns you into a victim. So I took full responsibility. The 4th pillar in mind mastery is focus. Are you focusing what you can do, or are you focusing what you can't do? So I just said, okay, if I can't do the physical, and I can't travel and do all things in a 3D physical world, what can I do? I can work on my spirit. I can strengthen my spirit. So that was the reason why I started getting into spirituality. And the second thing was because I contemplated every day, why did this happen? Nothing happens by accident. And that's why I should never call it an accident. It's a collision. Everything, I believe, happens on purpose. And I was just reflecting every day, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And of course, we know through my own coaching, I talk about stillness and solitude and silence. We know from books like Ryan Holiday's Stillness is the Key. I now know from Buddhism, stillness is the key to success, a quote from Buddhism. I just knew that I needed to get more and more and more still. Rather than resisting and pushing away my reality, I thought, let me go into it more and more. So I said, okay, well, let me get into meditation as opposed to just doing meditation apps. Let me study it at a deep level. So I started meditating in silence. Then I went to a one-day meditation retreat. Then I went to a 16-day living in silence Vipassana retreat, where for 16 days I just didn't have any exposure to the outside world, access to my phone, communication with any human beings, which was hell. Also because I was still on morphine and extreme pain, but you're faced with yourself. When every single distraction is removed, your family, your loved ones, your business, the only thing left is yourself. And that gave me so much clarity. And in those meditations and in that silence and stillness and in that contemplation about what this means and what life means now, what am I going to do, one of the things that became so incredibly clear to me was, you're going to die. Because many of us say, oh, we want to do this, we want to buy a house in Spain, we want to do a fitness challenge, we want to do another Ironman, we want to, and we just keep putting it off. So in my year of going deeper and deeper and deeper, all the way to sitting with plant medicines, from psilocybin to ayahuasca, and really going as deep as I could, it just got more and more clear to me that life is incredibly temporary. And it's actually quite funny because, I've been tattooing myself since I was 13 years old. It's my expression. It's how I express myself. It's very much a part of my identity, and I will never stop. I'm getting my head tattooed next. But this reflection really made me laugh at the fact that some people approach me and go, "Oh my God, these are so permanent." And I'm like, no, nothing is permanent. Like, you're getting so caught up on something that is ink on a canvas, and the canvas eventually is going back to the earth. And just little reflections like that. But one of the biggest things that happened for me was facing my own mortality, really accepting and being faced with the truth, which is our time is finite. Our time is coming to an end. And because I live a crazy life, like you, doing burpees and challenges and fitness and hikes and running and jumping out of planes, etc., I was like, I don't know when my end is. So what I can control, I cannot control when my life will end. I was just cycling at 37 years old, and because I have no memory, just like that, my life could have been over. No goodbyes, nothing. What happens if that happens again? So I can't control that. But what I can control is on that last day of my life, whether 1 year, 10 years, or 50 years from now, whether I die with gratitude or regret is going to come down to one thing: how I chose to live my life. So I had to take some very, very uncomfortable moves in my life. One of which was to leave England. I thought, it's my own business. I love the sun. I love the ocean. I love hot weather. What the fuck am I doing living in England? And I realized only because of the accident and meditation that I had moved to England 20 years before, because it's the only way I could get out of my country. My grandfather was English. I had an ancestral visa. South Africans, because of apartheid, couldn't go other places.
Okay.
I was like, yes, I got to England. I got out of South Africa. More opportunity. I never ever reflected from moving there at 23, later from 23 to maybe, 40, why I was still there. And it was being forced to stop that made me think that. And it was just like, as clear as day, this is not the place for you. So I decided to leave the UK. Another thing it made me realize is my relationship, my marriage, was comfortable. It looked beautiful. It looked inspiring even, but it wasn't my truth. I knew, and I had been pushing from after the accident, I had been pushing my partner to really face, is this it? Is this our greatest potential? Like, do you really believe, I said these words to her, do you believe that I am the greatest guy in the world for you? Like, do you really believe that? I don't believe that. Like, I don't think there is not a better man for you. And I wasn't sure that she was the right person for me, because I was just getting more and more and more spiritual. And it just wasn't her vibe, even though she did her very best, respect to her, to follow me on that path. It just wasn't her vibe. So I knew that I needed to follow my truth. And I'm very grateful that I didn't have to leave my marriage. It's through truthful, honest, and uncomfortable conversations that we both decided to separate. But that was one of the best things for me. Not only because I freed myself to live my truth, but I watched her thrive after that, and she continues to thrive, and I'm so freaking happy for her. So leaving the UK, getting divorced, and then also just being more of myself than I'd ever been before, including continuing my tattoo journey.
I remember
because I'm going to die.
You came here first. You came to Dubai.
Yeah, so I knew fitness, success culture, successful people, No disrespect to people in the UK, but generally people just like to complain. They complain about the weather, complain about the government. I'm just not a complainer. I don't like complaining. I don't want to be around people complaining. I was like, because I've been speaking a lot in Dubai for 7 years prior to that. It was like my number one business home, speaking at events, at conference, doing masterminds, like I mentioned before, having private clients here. It's like, I need to be in Dubai. Now, awareness is a funny thing, because if you have a friend in front of you every day, you think of that friend every day. But if they go away and travel for 3 years, you get to a point a year later where you just don't think of that friend anymore. Because of the accident and not being able to travel to Thailand and not being able to do fitness, I actually had to stop my fitness retreats in Thailand that I've been running for over 10 years. I'd ran 17 retreats there over 10 years. And then because of COVID, after my accident or collision, Thailand closed its borders.
I remember.
So for like 3 years, I just never, ever thought of Thailand. So when I made the decision that this is not the greatest environment for me, as we discussed environment, what is the greatest environment for me to move into? I was like, it's Dubai, because the borders weren't closed. I could still travel here, etc. And it's interesting, side note, we talked about environment, now we're talking about geography. Many people say, oh, I want to go here, but they never do it. From when I decided that I wanted to move here, 2 months later, I had residency, I had an Emirates ID, I had a bank account, everything. And my friend, Matt Haycox, who you will know of, he said, fucking hell, man. You know how many people have told me they want to move to Dubai? You just told me, boom, you're here.
Yeah, just like that.
So then Matt took me skiing. He runs like these kind of get-together networking events, and I've been on private planes with him. I've been skiing. I've been to a villa in Ibiza. So I made the decision in January. I got everything set up in February, or end of February. March, Matt invites me to go ski in Austria. It's the last week of March, and I'm sitting in the chalet, just come back from skiing. It clicks over to the 1st of April, and or like maybe the 2nd of April, just so people think it's not April Fools. And I see this, I'm sitting in the chalet resting, and I see this Facebook ad, Thailand opens its borders. And I was like, what? All of a sudden, boom, it's back in my awareness. And I was like, what am I thinking? For the cost, I like high standards. I always have. Even when I was a personal trainer, I was living in a brand new development, 2 bedrooms, super classy. It's just always been who I am. I like to dress well. Environment. I like to dress well, live well. My friends joke that they never want me to come to their house because it'll be so dirty compared to how my house, everything is perfect. If there's a hair on the floor, I have to pick it up. So I've always been in nice environments. And I thought, because January, February, March, I was looking to move to Dubai, I kept looking at apartments, and I was like, fucking hell, this is going to cost me an arm and a leg and a toe and a finger.
It's not cheap.
So I was thinking, if I just make it basic 2-bedroom, but to my standards, you're talking 5,000 to 6,000 euro a month. And then when I looked at Thailand, I was like, oh my God, I can live in a villa for that. I can have my own private swimming pool. I can have a driver. Anyway, a driver is like 400 euro a month, full-time driver in Thailand, which is also very cheap in Dubai, actually, but it's not as cheap as that. So I was like, I can have a much better quality of life for less. And I worked out, for the same price of a 2-bedroom apartment in Dubai, I could live in a 3-bedroom villa with a pool and get a return flight to Dubai. So it's like, that just makes more sense to me. It's more in my values. It's connected more to Muay Thai, Thai boxing that I've been doing most of my life. I'm living on an island. It's an even greater fitness culture there. So that's why I decided to go to Thailand. But then, as I discussed before, 2 years later, I was like, fuck, honestly, if I stayed in Dubai, I would be in the greatest business position that I've ever been in 20 years. But everything happens for a reason. I had to learn that.
The funny thing is I remember when one of the most impactful books that I ever read was Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek. And he talked about geo-arbitrage. And that's what you did. I remember. To move to Thailand, and it only costs you a couple of hundred a month or whatever, if you can keep your economic base in somewhere like Dubai and you have your cost base in somewhere like Thailand, then it makes huge sense.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to keep the economic thing
Exactly.
going, and that's the difficulty.
So that's the move the shift that I needed to make, or the ask, assess, adjust. I needed to keep the economic base and then have the home base there for the best life. But what I did was I completely dropped the economic base, and I tried to
all in.
I tried to go all in on living on an island in Thailand. And actually, I've had two other people, a friend of mine, Charlotte, and a friend of mine, Phil, both coaches, both moved to Thailand, both from the UAE. After a few years, moved back to the UAE because they just said it's not possible. It's too easy in Dubai.
Yeah, that's
or Charlotte's in Abu Dhabi, but yeah.
But for people, I like to kind of have some actionable steps when we're on these podcasts, and I'm thinking about people who are listening to this conversation, and maybe at the back of their mind they're thinking about there is a potential for me somewhere in the future that is not what I'm doing today. How would you suggest people find that other potential, whatever it is?
Great question. So first is, I call it the 7-step spiritual fitness journey. And it starts with, if you visualize a mountain, the peak of the mountain is you living your greatest potential at the center of your heart, in love, not in fear. Loving your life, being at peace because of your decisions, the people in your life, your environment, etc. And there's steps that you have to take to get to the top of the mountain. The first one is, what are your values? That is at the center of everything that I teach. It's the first action with every client. It's what do you stand for and not stand for. If you want to stand for A, B, C, but the mountain you're on, i.e. career, relationship, represents X, Y, Z, what the fuck are you doing there?
Yeah.
Go to another mountain. So it's first identifying what your highest values are. For people that think, what are your highest values? It's just the things that matter to you most. There's plenty of assessments online. I have one. You can find links online. Dr. John DeMartini, an expert on eliciting values, has one on his website.
It's like the Ikigai, isn't it, and things like that. There's different. I mean, the reality is, if you're working in a job and you're not fulfilled, and you kind of are just doing it in order to get the paycheck, but there's really something else you would like to be doing, that's just the little indication that there's something not right.
If you don't feel fulfilled and at peace, you're not living in alignment with your values. There's a concept called flow. It's being written about a lot in the last few years, flow state. Flow state is perceived as doing something that almost seems impossible, but for the person doing it, it doesn't even feel like work.
Difficulty, yeah.
Or difficult. Why? Because it's the thing that brings them the most excitement. It's the thing that brings them the most enjoyment. It's the thing that brings them the most peace and fulfillment. Everyone has that. So yes, there's tests online, but another way to look at your values, or to find your values, is to look at your entire life. Life is a teacher. Look at the things that have given you low energy or taken your energy away. These are low on your values. Move away from these things. I was just in a client's villa this morning in Dubai. I took him running and then sat down in a coaching session. And one of the exercise I got him to do was write down a line down the middle of your page, and then on the left-hand side, write everything that gives you energy. On the right-hand side, everything that takes your energy away. Our job is to remove the right side, because that's low on your values. And we always are naturally most motivated towards our values, not away. Not towards what we don't value. So that's the first thing, what takes your energy away. Number 2 is look at what gives you the most energy. And it sounds fluffy, woo-woo, spiritual, but I realized this at like 25 years old, that the secret to life is to do what you love and love what you do. And it was so important for me to never forget this. I had it tattooed across my chest from shoulder to shoulder. So I would see it every day in the mirror. And if I realized that I was not doing that for a few days, I had to adjust that. And look at your life. Life is a story, and you can break down that story and notice, where did I have the most passion, enjoyment, and excitement in your life? That is God, the universe, energy, consciousness, your greatest higher mind speaking to you. And it's trying to tell you, I make you feel so good doing this because that's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Go do that. But
You
no,
were
we
born to
listen
do
to
it.
school. You're
Yeah.
born to do it. It's your most natural state. It's your flow state. But we listen to the teacher, we read books, we listen to our parents that maybe aren't living their values and they're
friends,
suffering, and your friends, and they're all telling you what you should do with your life. But no one knows what brings you the most joy.
Only
The
you
secret
do.
to life is to, and you know, people can listen and say, and I know you've got a big business audience, oh, life isn't that easy, you've got to work. Well, no, working, yes, you have to work. I value fitness. I always have. Is going to the gym hard work? Of course it is. Some days I don't want to go, but it's in alignment with my values, so you don't suffer. You just experience pain in doing the reps, metaphorically and literally speaking. But you know, when you go to the gym or you go to the office, if it's in alignment with your values, you don't complain. You just know this is what I need to do to get where I want to go, to live a life that's both fulfilling in the future and peaceful, because I'm living that best life every single day. But it's noticing those patterns. That's the first step. The second step is, once you understand what your values are, it's looking at those values and thinking of them as colors on a palette with a brush, and then creating a vision for your life. So if you value fitness, family, freedom, financial independence, and fun, it's create a picture
That looks
that has all of this in the picture. That is the vision for your life. Then it's create a mission. Life is about service. Life is about impact. Life is about making a difference to others. Your life is not about you. Anyone that thinks their life is about themselves has a life of suffering. Anyone that thinks their life is about others has a life of joy, peace, and fulfillment. Because when you are in the service of others, whether in coaching, business, whatever, you cannot be focused on yourself. The secret to life is to be in the service of others and to love doing it, because you get to choose however you want to do it. So the third step is choosing a mission that is meaningful to you. And your mission, otherwise what I call your vehicle, you can change that vehicle anytime you want. I was a personal trainer, I was a life coach, I was a performance coach, I still am. Now I'm moving into spirituality. I'm a spiritual coach and a shamanic practitioner. I take people through deep healing ceremonies. And I don't know if that's where I'm going to stay. You just do the best you can with what you got until you can do something better. I've ran you've seen my communities,
Yeah.
Best Life, Life Fitness University, Live 100, now Spiritual Gym, right? We're always changing, always evolving. The only thing in life that is constant is change itself. So you can change that vehicle as many times as you want. But what matters is the vehicle, the job, the profession, the business that you choose is towards the vision and in your values. That's what matters. Because a life in alignment with your values and your vision is a life without suffering. Not pain, but suffering, spiritual suffering. Many successful people that are spiritually broken inside, it's because they're working towards a vision they don't even care about, or someone else's vision, and they're not living in the things that bring them the most joy and excitement. And then the final one in the 4 pillars of spiritual fitness, there's another 3 after that, is your purpose. Why the fuck are you doing it? Because as Mike Tyson said, who's fighting tomorrow, that's a whole nother subject. I don't know how that fight's going to go with Jake Paul, but Mike Tyson said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
You've been punched in the face. I've been punched in the face. And what matters is what made Tyson Fury, the boxer, get up when he was knocked down by Deontay Wilder was his why. It wasn't the skill. It was psychology. If you truly want to win at the game of life, you need to have a strong reason why you need to keep getting up and keep fighting. Stay strong, keep moving, and never, ever, ever settle. And my why, I'm so grateful, is greater than it's ever been. And it comes in the form of my 1-year, 4-month-old daughter, Mila. I am now more driven than I've ever been. I'm now more motivated than I've ever been. I sleep 6 hours. I've removed every vice from my life. I don't even drink caffeine that I swore by for 20 years because I'm like, this doesn't make me better. If I can remove every single vice from my life, that's my next level. Because I've been cutting them out for years. Right? I'm not saying everyone has to cut all the vices out in their life. Like, I'm not a normal human being. but she deserves the absolute best of me. And being jittery on coffee is not the best of me. So I just had to cut it out.
Interesting. I'm looking at the time, JP, and it's been a good one.
I have to record you now.
Yeah, we're going to do
I can't believe we're over the hour already.
We're going to do a reverse one. So, JP, if anyone was thinking about working with you or reaching out, what's the best way to find you?
The best thing, go to my Instagram, Jean Pierre De Villiers. I do my best to share my life with people in the stories, and then every now and again do a post. So if you want to understand me, what I do, who I am, what I stand for, what I don't stand for, just follow me there. And then if you feel within you that you'd like to have me be in your corner, have your back, be in the green room with you, behind the stage, hold you accountable, hold your feet to the fire, punch you in the ribs sometimes when you need some accountability and truth, and then just reach out to me.
I'll put a link in the show notes.
Amazing. Appreciate it.
JP, thank you.
Loved it.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with JP. Really solid guy, so definitely go and check out some of his social media and links and things like that you'll find in the show notes below. Once again, a very brief reminder, my January intake for the Property Investment Accelerator is now open. I've already had a number of people reach out and book calls with me to discuss joining. We have an in-person event on the first Saturday of February, which is the 1st of February. So I'm looking forward to meeting all the new members, and there's going to be a little get together. We're going to have a guest speaker. We're going to have some lunch, all that kind of stuff. So if you'd like to be a part of that, please do consider joining the accelerator. And you'll find a link down below in the show notes to a program overview where I just share how it all works. So go and check that out. And guys, I look forward to seeing you in 2025. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Facade. If you enjoyed the show or found it in any way useful, could I please ask you to take a moment to leave a review over on iTunes or Spotify? This really helps us get the podcast out in front of more people. If you have any questions or topics you would like me to cover in future episodes, please connect with me via my brand new school community. You will find a link in the show notes. You can stay up to date with all of my content and the projects I'm working on by signing up for my weekly newsletter over on my website, gavinjgallagher.com. That's all for now. See you back here, same time next week.